This briefing draws on a major strategic essay published in the Jerusalem Strategic Tribune titled "The Middle East After the Iran War: Lessons and Outcomes." The analysis is authored by Ambassador James Jeffrey, Distinguished Fellow at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy, former Deputy National Security Advisor, and former United States Ambassador to Iraq, Turkey, and Albania, a senior architect of American strategy across decades of conflict. His central message is clear: the war may be underway, but its outcome is not yet decided. Segment 1: A war without a defined ending. Ambassador Jeffrey begins with a strategic caution. It is still too early to define the final outcome of the Iran war, but it is not too early to understand its direction. The region is approaching a decisive inflection point, and that inflection point could lead to fundamentally different futures: the weakening or collapse of the Iranian regime, and the emergence of a more stable regional order, or a far more dangerous scenario, where Iran survives, adapts, and re-emerges more radical and more aggressive. Between these two paths lies uncertainty, and uncertainty is now the defining feature of the moment. Segment 2: Lesson 1: Necessity does not guarantee success. One of Jeffrey's most important conclusions is also one of the most sobering. Confronting Iran was strategically necessary after decades of regional destabilization and expansion of influence through proxies. But necessity does not guarantee success. War can alter the balance of power, but it does not automatically create stability. And this is the first lesson: military success does not equal strategic success. Segment 3: Lesson 2: The outcome remains open. The war has not produced a definitive result. Instead, it has opened a range of possible endings. At one end, a historic transformation of the Middle East with a weakened or collapsing Iran and the potential for long-term stability. At the other, a strategic illusion of victory where Iran absorbs the shock, adapts, and returns more radical and more determined. The difference between these outcomes will not be decided by what has already happened, but by what happens next. Segment 4: Lesson 3: The war after the war. Perhaps the most critical insight is this: wars are not decided on the battlefield alone. They are decided in what follows: governance, political order, strategic alignment. If the post-war phase is not managed with clarity, even a clear military advantage can unravel. Strategy doesn't end with war. That is where it truly begins. Segment 5: The Emerging Order and its Fragility. The war is already reshaping the region. Iran is under pressure, militarily, politically, and internally. At the same time, a new alignment is taking shape. The United States, Israel, and key regional actors, moving toward a more integrated strategic framework. But alignment is not cohesion, and internal differences within this emerging structure may define the next phase of instability. Segment 6: The Strategic Risk. The greatest danger is not defeat, it is miscalculation, declaring success too early, underestimating Iran's capacity to adapt, or failing to build a coherent post-war order. Because in strategy, what follows the war determines whether the war was worth fighting. Ambassador James Jeffrey's analysis delivers a clear strategic warning. History does not reward victories, it rewards outcomes. The Middle East now stands at a decisive turning point, not defined by what has already happened, but by what comes next. And the decisions made in this moment will shape the region for years to come.